New Orleans signed C.J. Spiller for something other than sitting on the fucking bench.
31 other passes that should have been intercepted with you.
So that's why I have David Johnson on my board higher.
If you're doing a live draft, wait till you're drunk to draft this guy. We welcome you to the Fifth Down. What up, Fifth Downers? This is Johnny Slokes, and you're here at the Fifth Down Fantasy Football Podcast. I got my main man on my other line.
Main man over in Japan. What's up, guys?
All right, today we're doing our waiver wire show this week, week 5. Oh, man, this is a crazy week this week. A lot of things happened, a lot of good performances. Julio Jones went over 300 yards this week. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, I think that Julio is just kind of outdoing himself, and it's surprising because, he's so good already, and then he keeps outdoing himself. And as a Julio owner in the league, I think that this weekend was total satisfaction. A guy that can put up 50 points for your fantasy team, yeah, I love it.
I mean, 12 catches, 300 yards, and a touchdown. And, Ron Rivera, I don't know if he was just joking or what, but he was like, we actually did try to cover him. It's like, no, motherfucker, you didn't try, because he was open down the seam for days down the sideline.
Yeah, nothing that the Carolina Panthers did could stop Julio Jones. He was consistently open all day, and Matt Ryan and Julio made them pay for it. I
think they exposed that Carolina defense, too.
Yeah,
Matt Ryan is another top performer. He had 500 yards.
You know what else, too, is their run defense that was so great last year isn't so great anymore. I mean, in week 1, C.J. Anderson got 30 fantasy points on him. And then here again, and all season they've been getting burnt by the running back position. Carlos Hyde got a pretty good number on him. And now this week, Devontae Freeman had another great week. Not so much Tevin Coleman, but Devontae Freeman. I mean, the Falcons were getting it done all over the field, like through the air, on the ground. I mean, this Carolina defense looked like absolute ass this weekend. To
be fair, Atlanta looks like they probably have the hottest offense in the league right now. They've been averaging 35 points a game, and they obviously were putting up points on Carolina. That team looks like a team that could contend, maybe. I mean, I know what they kind of did this last year. I really don't think they have the defense to actually contend, but I think they went 5-0 last year, and then they kind of fell off. But
yeah,
I think they look hungry this year.
Yeah, they do. That offense is firing on all cylinders. That's for damn sure. But the thing is, it's a good thing they are scoring 50, points on offense a game. It's an obvious exaggeration, but they have to score that much to keep up because their defense is allowing 30 points a game. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I think that defense isn't quite at that next level yet, but boy, man, I think that this second year with Kyle Shanahan as the OC is really paying dividends, and it shows with Matt Ryan's play. Yes,
I agree. The Big Ben had 5 touchdowns, 300 yards passing, and then Le'Veon Bell also had a very nice welcome home party, getting 18 carries for 144 yards. He did get a touchdown, though, vultured away from him by D'Angelo Williams, but it was nice. It was nice to see that,
Yeah, it was. It was kind of anticlimactic because, most of what Le'Veon Bell was doing was getting kind of overlooked because of how bad the Steelers were whooping on the Chiefs. I mean, that game was unwatchable. I couldn't watch it past halftime. In fact, I was about to turn it off before halftime. The Chiefs
looked fucking terrible in that game.
Yeah, I'm about to call that defense a bunch of imposters. Everybody was is already willing to totem like, oh, great defense in Kansas City. Yeah, it didn't show last night. And I know that Pittsburgh has a good offense, but
you remember early last year, Kansas City's defense wasn't really looking that good either until they started getting on that winning streak.
Yeah, but that winning streak, though, and I tell everybody last year, was kind of an imposter thing because they had a weak schedule down the stretch. Like, they had a lot of easy matchups.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so, I really do think this defense is a bunch of imposters. I think any time that Kansas City wants to get to that next level, they can't because their defense won't allow them to because whenever they play a contender, they just can't get it done. And Sunday night is one of the bigger stages, and they couldn't get it done. They were absolutely listless. Spencer Ware more fumble trouble. I mean, it got bad and then it got worse.
Yeah, 3 fumbles in the past 2 games.
Yeah, not good. And well, Jamal Charles looks like his workload's going to increase next week, so that's a good sign. But other than that, though, they definitely don't look like they're about to unseat the Broncos for the AFC West crown anytime soon.
All right. We got Russell Wilson. It was probably one of my favorite performances of the week. He had 23 of 32 passing, 308 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I was just impressed by how good he was under pressure because he was pressured 15 on 35 dropbacks, and he completed 13 of 17 passes for 136 yards. Like
yeah.
he was just throwing on him all over the place yesterday.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll be the first to say I'm a Seahawks hater by heart. But you know what? That performance was great. I think that I was looking at that, and you know he had limited mobility too because of his injuries, and he was still able to get it done, extend plays like he's used to doing, and I'm sure he was in a lot of pain too because he has 2 fairly serious injuries, and he was able to get it done. And then McAvoy vultured a touchdown from a Seahawks receiver that actually is owned on a fantasy team, so that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was a really gutsy performance by him. He had 125.6 passer rating, so he looked like he was actually pretty comfortable in the pocket.
Yeah, it also helped too.
He's finding his man Jimmy G, man.
Yeah, he's finally looking like he's got that connection with him this year, and after a serious off-season surgery for Jimmy Graham too. So that's interesting news.
Back-to-back 100-yard games for him, man.
Yeah, it looks like he's legit, tight end 2 option, tight end 1 option. And you know what though? The New York offense really didn't make it hard on him at all. I mean, they were throwing pick after pick, or I should say fifth magic. But and Brandon Marshall, he kind of got me a little pissed because on some of those picks, he just didn't contest them at all. It just flew right into Richard Sherman's hands, and then Marshall just put his hands up like, what the fuck? And it's like, no, motherfucker, if you can't catch that ball, how about you try to bat it away so it doesn't get intercepted?
Yeah, it was another ugly performance by Fitzpatrick. I wonder if we're going to see Geno Smith anytime soon.
Yeah, it's interesting to say 9 picks in 2 weeks definitely is not a good look. And it's definitely showing that his lack of preparation this offseason is definitely showing now. So hopefully he can get it together. But if you're a Jets fan, I'd probably hunker down.
Yeah, there's some pretty good performances this week on the ground. I think one of the best ones that I'm happy about is Jordan Howard going for 111 yards on the Detroit Lions, whose defense just looks awful. So, but still nice to see the rookie get a vote of confidence. And the head coach is praising him, and he thinks he's going to see a lot more work down the line.
Well, John Fox said it in the offseason. He said that he's going to ride the hot hand, and I think he definitely proved that he is the hot hand. So look for more work for him if he's unowned in your league. I don't know why that would be, but if he's unowned in your league, you better grab him right now.
Yeah, he was consistently breaking tackles, and that's not really something that we've seen out of Jeremy Langford. I think that maybe he might be able to hold Jeremy Langford off even when he comes back. Yeah,
it looks like Jordan Howard now has his backfield to himself, and it's his to lose. And the only thing that's going to stop him from keeping the starting job all season is injury or his play.
And another nice performance we had, Ezekiel Elliott going for 138 yards.
Yeah, he finally showed up a little bit of that hype that was just miles high in the sky, before the season started. And I thought that was a little unrealistic, for a rookie running back, the amount of, hype he was getting. But no doubt I think he's a talented back, and I knew that he was going to get nice fantasy numbers this year. So it's good to see him actually improving his yards per carry, so that's always nice to see.
And then Isaiah Crowell, the crow keeps flying. He had another 100-yard game with a touchdown. Should we start taking him a little bit more serious, or?
Yeah,
I know we kind of had him. I know we kind of had him as a trade high candidate, but if he keeps doing stuff like this, he looks like he's the lead back over there.
Oh, absolutely. It also helps too that every other Browns running back fumbled this weekend. So that only cements his position as the lead back. But here's the thing, though. Yeah, I'll admit that at this point I think I was wrong because I did trade him high in one league after that 1 week where he had that 85-yard touchdown. I think it was week 2. I was loving it, and then I traded him high, and you know what? I said that everybody was smart for doing that. I think I was a little too early on that. It looks like he could be the one of two productive Browns members on that team.
All right. There's another performance that's on here that I like, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Some of the big wide receiver performances, we already touched on some of them. A.J. Green we didn't touch on yet, though. He had 10 catches for 173 yards and a touchdown on Thursday night game. It's nice to see that out of A.J. Green because the rest of the offense isn't looking too hot.
Yeah, it's good. He's really holding down that Cincinnati offense. And, you know, a guy like A.J. Green is, and you said it, I think, the best, is like he'll have his games where he has like a 10 points here, you know, this or that, or he'll come pretty close to giving you a goose egg, but then he'll have those weeks where he just blows the fuck up, you know, and this is one of those weeks. And he was just uncontested all week, and it looks like the rest of the season he's going to be a nice target. He will have those weeks, though, where he doesn't get you enough points, but, you know, hey.
Hey, that when he blows up, he blows up. So let's jump into the waiver wire mix a little bit. We'll start at quarterback since there isn't really too many that I see are worth picking up. I mean, at least in most Yahoo leagues. Carson Wentz is still only 38% owned. I think that has a lot to do with him being on a bye week, but still, I think that he's a viable second quarterback for any team out there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Carson Wentz is a great candidate. He's been impressive in his start so far this year. I actually own him in one league because I went ahead and traded one of my quarterbacks, and I feel pretty confident about it. I feel confident with him as my second, quarterbacks. I have him and Matthew Stafford, and with Matthew Stafford's struggles, I actually am pretty confident I could just plug him in. He does have two favorable matchups coming up. He's got one against Detroit, and he also gets Washington in Week 6. So two favorable matchups on the horizon for an already impressive quarterback.
Yeah, you started going in the direction that I wanted to go into because Wentz, as long as Wentz and Flacco remain on the free agency right now for most leagues, I think that they'll consistently be my two top streaming options pretty much all year. Because I really don't think they'll ever get above 50% owned in any league. So for any week that either two of these quarterbacks are going to be on the waivers, you can pick them up and plug them in and start them at your starting quarterback, and it probably won't hurt you.
Yeah, exactly. I can definitely agree with the Flacco. He was actually the other guy I was going to mention. He's a nice streaming option pretty much any week. He's not exciting by any means. You know, he's Joe Flacco.
He's not going to win you your week, although he always has that potential to throw like 5 touchdown passes. I think I picked him up a couple of years ago and just plugged him in, and he got like 5. I think it was when he played against Tampa Bay. He had like 5 touchdowns at halftime or something like that.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely think he's got that blowout potential. He's not exciting. He's not like, a Tom Brady, but he's like you just said perfectly, he's not going to lose your week. But he may win your week. And
the Ravens actually got a pretty nice schedule, too, so those might be two nice streaming options all year. Other than those two, I really didn't see a whole lot of quarterbacks I liked that I've seen on the list.
Yeah,
I understand Bradford there if you're real desperate.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention him just because there are some people that play in deeper leagues, like 14-team leagues, which is one that we're in. Brian Hoyer's out there. Not too bad. He does have some favorable matchups. He's got the Colts next week, so that's good. If you're looking to stream a quarterback, the matchup really doesn't get easier than that.
Yep. All right, let's go over to some running backs. I think this is a guy I was going to mention during our players that performed well was Terrence West. He was, I think, the surprise of the week. He had 21 carries for 113 yards and a touchdown. It looked like he pretty much dominated the Baltimore backfield that week. Forsett actually was deactivated, and they plugged in Buck Allen.
Yeah. No, he's definitely a nice add this week, and he's pretty much going to be the priority add this week. So if you're not like waiver priority 1, chances are you probably won't get him. But put a claim in for him. But yeah, impressive performance. I really liked what I saw out of him this weekend. But the other thing that does concern me though is not Forsett. It's actually Kenneth Dixon. He's due back this week. I don't think he'll have much of a role coming back. But he's also worth an add. It seems
like Kenneth Dixon will be probably the third down back over there. He's another actually a decent little ad that you could have, and he's widely available as well.
Yeah, and the thing that gets me about Dixon is he's the more talented of the two, And now I do agree that he's probably going to get that third down work. He's not going to get a lot of touches at first, but he's a nice bench stash for me for right now because
I think there's a good chance that by like week 7 or 8 he could be starting.
That's what I think too. It's pretty much only going to take one. I think West is obviously the starter right now, but he's got a very short leash. So I think if you can't get West, Kenneth Dixon is a nice add. Just stash him on your bench, and maybe you're.
I think a lot of savvy owners have him already.
Yeah, if he's
but he's still only owned in like 25%. Yeah. So
I went ahead and jumped on the Kenneth Dixon train last week because nobody was jumping on him early, so I decided I'd jump on him early before the hype train built up, and the hype train is here for Kenneth Dixon. So grab him still if he's still available in your league. Make sure you stash him on your bench. I think he's a good add.
Matt Forte did go down. It looks like he's getting some X-rays done, so we'll know more later on in the week. But I think Bilal Powell would be a nice add this week as well.
Yeah,
he's only owned in 23% of leagues.
Yeah, I jumped on the Bilal Powell train early too. Hey, sorry, Matt. I don't mean you any ill wishes and anything like that, but hey, I need my fantasy team to do well, and I have Bilal Powell stashed on a lot of teams. Bilal Powell is an excellent add in all formats. He's pretty much, you got to think about it, he's pretty much that same running back as Matt Forte, but younger and a little bit quicker, I think.
All right. I kind of like Powell. I thought he would be an interesting draft candidate even before Forte came around because you don't really think he can be like that 3-down guy, though, do you?
I'm not sure. I think if anything, they'll probably limit like how many times they hand the ball off to him. Like they'll get him involved in every play, as essentially like a 2-3 down back. But at the same time, he is a little undersized. So I don't know if he can be an every down back, but I do think that he's definitely going to get an opportunity.
All right. So Adam Gase said he's looking to narrow down the backfield over there in Miami, which Arian Foster may or may not be back for week 5. But I think as a speculative ad, you could pick up Ajayi, who I think probably looks the best out of that rotation.
Yeah,
he's only
easily
30% of leagues.
Easily, and I know that this Thursday night game that just happened with Cincinnati was a shit show. The one bright spot for Miami, though, I did say was Ajayi, and, Arian Foster may or may not play. And who knows, Arian Foster may only play one more game this year until he's out for good. So if you have Ajayi and, say Arian Foster does start, I don't think that he's a bad stash on your team. I really do think that he could run away with the starting job if Arian Foster is lost for the season, or hell, if he just starts running away with it next week, because it sounds like if he gets the start next week and he runs away with it, he might just run away with it. So.
And we were just talking some trash on him, Fozzie Whitaker, but he actually had like 9 receptions this past week. It looked like he was being heavily utilized. I mean, again, It was a game that they were playing from behind most of the game, but still, 9 catches is a lot for a running back.
Yeah, I think that was more so because, and I would have to check the game because I didn't watch. I watched a little bit of that game. But 9 catches, I think those were more like dump offs. I mean, Carolina was playing from behind most of the game, and either Cam Newton or Derek Anderson, whoever was in at the time, was probably checking down on him. I'm not really looking too much into this, but that is true. That is worth speculative ad, I guess. If you're really thin at running back, I think that he's worth a look.
All right, and then I think the last guy I want to talk about is I really don't think he's worth holding on to if you have better options, but I think Devontae Booker might be a nice little stash for right now. He's not only owned in like 10% of leagues, but he could actually be a guy that can get like 15 to 20 carries a week, say if C.J. Anderson was to go down.
Oh, yeah, he would slide immediately into that starter role in Denver, and Denver's already a run-heavy scheme. Like, they're a run-first offense, so I think that's a no-brainer for a nice stash on your team if he's available in your league. There's other ones, too, and I could go over all of them right now, and there's actually a couple. If you know of an injury-prone back, I mean, it's always a nice strategy to grab his handcuff and stash him and hope for the best. Like Carlos Hyde, we all know his history. Why not stash Ron? Because you know what kind of role he's going to be sliding into. Hyde gets hurt, for example.
Yeah, and then Wendell Smallwood over there in Philadelphia. Ryan Matthews is in a good bill of health right now. and it looks like he might even lose a starting job if he can't stay healthy, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like right now they're going to go to a full-blown running back by committee, which really lowers Matthews' value, which is kind of a plain shame because I thought he was going to be a steal in this draft, and it turns out I was wrong. If it keeps trending the way it is, it looks like right now he's pretty much a low 4 running back 3 at this point, until he proves otherwise.
Yeah, I think I'd rather just take the chance on Smollett at this point.
Yeah, I know. I'm debating. Like, I don't want to outright, because I do own Ryan Matthews in one league, and I don't want to outright drop him. I don't think that he's worth an outright drop, but it kind of just, the rest of the season, I just don't see the value there if he's really in the role that I think he's in right now.
All right, is there any other running backs you want to touch on?
I think I'm good. Maybe if Darren Sproles is out there, he might be worth an add too, because it sounds like it's a full-blown committee in Philly, and if you're really weak at running backs, that you're just ravaged by injuries, I say that he might be worth a speculative add.
Especially if you're in PPR leagues.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and another guy that I don't think we mentioned was Orleans Darkwa. If he wasn't picked up last week, he's still out there. Worth mentioning, he did have, I think, 14-something fantasy points tonight, so and it looks like he's getting the majority of the touches in New York, so he could definitely
do worse. You see that long burst by Paul Perkins?
No, I didn't actually. I only got.
It was during it was a comeback mode, but it was still pretty nice. They ended up not scoring on the drive anyways, but it was nice to see that out of the young rookie. Yeah,
it was very, very worrisome game for me. I'm like, wow, I was really impressed with New York at the start of the season, and now I'm not impressed.
Yeah, Eli Manning has pissed me the fuck off. I've actually lost because he took a late sack because the other guy had Minnesota's defense. I lost by 0.3 of a point. So I'm a little bit pissed off at Eli Manning right now, but I think I'll get over it.
Say the least.
All right, some wide receivers worth mentioning. I know he may or may not be available in your league. He's owned in 63% of leagues. But if Steve Smith is available on the waiver wire, he's looking like the legitimate number 1 over there in Baltimore.
Yeah, he's blown the fuck up 2 weeks in a row, and I think it's kind of time we didn't ignore him anymore. I think he could do worse at the wide receiver position. If he somehow is available in your league, I would grab him.
Man, did you see that touchdown grab he had?
Oh yeah. I was like, does he really? I couldn't believe that he was still so fast, and he had like the perseverance to get into the end zone after catching the ball.
Like there's just the fact that he's still that fast when he's that old, coming off an Achilles rupture. Like that's impressive.
That is, yeah. I couldn't believe that he beat NFL corners with the type of injury that he came back from. I mean, you already said it. I'm not going to.
He's a fucking animal, man.
The dude's a freaking nature, and you know what? You can't ignore him anymore. Yeah, he's legitimate.
Yeah, another guy, he's probably owned in your league, but I have seen some people getting frustrated and dropping him, is a guy like John Brown. He finally came alive this week. It's another guy we did not mention. 10 catches, 144 yards. He still hasn't gotten the end zone, but that could change because they do have a plus matchup next week against San Francisco.
Yeah, I love that somebody in one of our leagues dropped him, and you know what? I wasn't ready because I said it on one show. I was like, you know what? It's a little early to drop John Brown. I know he hasn't been shit in 2 weeks, but this is John Brown. Think about what he did last year. Like, I'd give him a little bit longer of a leash.
He's finally getting targets.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's going to keep trending in the right direction as long as Carson Palmer's the quarterback. Now, if Drew Stanton's the quarterback, there's a little bit of a caveat there. But as long as Carson Palmer's in there, I think that John Brown definitely has some rest of the season value.
And then I know this is a guy you were kind of high on preseason, but he hasn't really done shit so far this year except for last week. He did have a pretty decent game with Robert Woods. It looks like he will be the de facto number 1, so whether you like it or not, he's going to get the targets. Whether he's going to come down with them or not is the question, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I'm targeting him in a couple leagues because there are some leagues where I'm weak at at wide receiver. And, you could do worse because you think about it. With Sammy Watkins out of the fold and, Marquise Goodwin's a one-trick pony, he's going to gobble up the targets there. He might not do shit with them, but he's going to get the targets. So I think that he has a safer floor than before. I think that he has a good, 5 catches, 50-yard floor. Like, I don't see him building Rome in a day, but, I think that the targets will give him value.
Couldn't agree more. Another guy that continuously is playing snaps in front of Marcus Wheaton is Sammy Coates. He's owned in 17% of leagues. He actually had a pretty decent game this past week. I think he had like 7 targets, caught like 5 of them. He's looking like a speculative ad as well. He's only owned in 17% of leagues.
Yeah, he hasn't been getting like a whole lot of targets, but he's been doing a lot of damage with the limited targets he's getting. Like it seems like every game he'll have a long pass. He'll rarely ever get a touchdown, but he'll catch like a long 40-yard pass, in these games, and that's nice and all. But yeah, he's not getting a lot of the targets, so I think he's definitely worth a stash. I mean, he probably becomes more involved as the season goes on.
I think I like him as like my 5th or 6th receiver.
Yeah, I think that you could for a bench receiver. I wouldn't necessarily spend a waiver pick on him, but if he's unowned after the waiver period, if you got somebody that you want to drop, why not just stash him? Because my bet is he could actually get more involved in this Pittsburgh offense as the season goes on.
You ever do this on any of your teams where you have a guy on your bench that you're never going to use, but he's your throwaway guy kind of, and you kind of you always have like a different player in that throwaway pile like every week, but you always you're taking a chance on him, but if he doesn't do anything, you kind of just drop him off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just drop him, add Sammy Coates, thank us later.
I do definitely like him in like daily fantasy tournaments though.
Yeah, I do think that he has that appeal because he's a home run hitter basically, and if he gets that long pass, then he pretty much gets his nut for the day. But if he doesn't, there could be.
He's not likely to be owned by a lot of people either. So.
Exactly.
All right. Another guy that I know he had a blow-up game, so people are probably going to rush to add him, but I think he's still kind of like 3rd on the pecking chart over there is Dontrell Inman. He had over 100. He had like 115 yards. I think a lot of people are going to rush to go get him, but he's still playing behind Travis Benjamin and Tyrell Williams. So I think you got to have tempered expectations with him.
Absolutely. I think that he's 3rd on the pecking order right now as far as targets go, and I just it's all smoke and mirrors with this guy. He had a big game. He caught a touchdown. It's just I wouldn't buy into it. If you're extremely desperate, I guess you could add him, but in a lot of my leagues, I just really don't think that he's worth it. There's honestly players on my bench I just would rather not drop, for Inman.
Very fair assessment. With the Eric Decker injury, Enunwa is still available in 37% of leagues, which I found quite surprising. He needs to be added in every league.
Yeah, he does.
For at least the time being until Decker's back.
Oh yeah, well he was already gobbling up targets before Decker was out, so I think that it only increases from here. And with Marshall kind of banged up, I think that it's a great ad. I think that he's actually, as far as wide receivers go, he's my priority ad. I absolutely love Enunwa. I'm asking people.
I like what he brings to the table too.
Oh yeah, I do too. If you can buy low on him
toughness and grit.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I love everything about Enunwa. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he gets the targets. I mean, come on, what else can you ask for?
Yeah, he's definitely blossoming.
Yeah, I do actually have one more person that I do want to bring up though, and this is because he's only 24% owned, and I've been building up the hype train for him like all year. I don't own him in any leagues because it just never worked out that way. But I've been targeting him in some dynasty leagues and everything like that. Chris Hogan. I think that when Tom Brady comes back, this guy's going to see a huge uptick. He's quick. He's white. He's small. He's exactly the receiver Brady loves to throw to. I'm telling you, jump on him before he's gone. And he's a guy that you can stash away right now. And I think that I put my money he gets utilized by the season end by Brady.
Yeah, they did spend quite a bit of money on a guy that wasn't really well known. He was like the 3rd receiver over there in Buffalo, but if you're paying him that kind of money, you're probably gonna have some kind of game plan for him, and I think that you'll end up seeing that once Tom Brady comes back.
Yeah, well, we've seen flashes with Garoppolo, but I just think it's going to get better with Brady because we all know that Brady doesn't just hog up one target. He likes to spread the ball around, and I think that he's going to have some nice games.
All right. We can go over to some tight ends. I want to mention a lot of people, or not, I wouldn't say a lot of people. There might be some people that may have dropped this tight end due to an injury. He's coming back off of his bye week. He should be healthy and ready to go. Is Zachary Ertz? He's owned in 63% of leagues. But if he is available on the waiver wire, that could be a guy that you could pick up and you could plug in as a tight end one.
Yeah.
Especially if you're an Eric Ebron owner, and Eric Ebron's all banged up.
Yeah, exactly. I actually want to talk about a guy. I do agree with you on that one. I think that Zach Ertz is a great ad, especially where you had to get him in the draft. I think that he's still going to hog up red zone targets. But I actually want to talk about the guy that I was dissing a couple shows ago. And let's talk about Cameron Brate. Brate life, baby.
10% owned.
10% owned. And even this week against a tough Denver defense, he was able to score about 10 fantasy points. So, and also he's got favorable matchups coming forward. I can't off the top remember him off my head, but I did look, and he does have favorable matchups coming up.
This is after a brutal start to the season where they had a real tough schedule. It will ease up a little bit. I do agree.
Yeah, and so I think that you could definitely do worse at the tight end position because he's been gobbling up targets too. He's a check down for Jameis Winston, and he's been making the most of it so far, especially against tough defenses. The last 2 weeks had pretty tough matchups, and he's done pretty well.
Another guy that's coming off an injury that people might have dropped because people don't like to hold on to injured tight ends on their bench is Tyler Eifert. He should be back next week as well. I think if he's available in your waiver wire, you should probably jump on him because you know what he can do when he's on the field. He's a touchdown guy.
Yeah, exactly. We know Andy Dalton was thrown to him. I think
Cincinnati's killing for a second receiver right now, so I think they really miss him.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. Another guy that we haven't mentioned yet that I don't know why we haven't yet, Jacob fucking Tammy. What the fuck?
It's 45% owned. I did have him listed down on my paper here. He's looking like the number 2 guy over there in Atlanta.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say right now, before Julio's explosion this weekend, he was like the leading target on Atlanta. And, it looks like I like how he's getting utilized, too. He's a quick dump off for Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, continually, if he's in trouble, he's going to either dump it off to Tevin Coleman, Devontae Freeman, or Jacob Tammy. And also, he's looking more involved in the red zone, too. So, and with that high-powered offense in Atlanta, I think that he's a great ad.
You gotta like tight ends on high-powered offenses, so that's always a plug-and-play guy that you can always put in there.
Absolutely.
Another guy that had another nice performance from the tight ends was Hunter Henry. He had, I believe, 50 yards and a touchdown. And if Antonio Gates cannot go next week, I think he's still worthy of another start.
Yeah, I love Hunter Henry going forward. I think that he's an absolutely fantastic.
I mean, how good? These guys would be so good. He's just a rookie, and he's looking like he's already got it down.
Oh yeah. He looks so mature, and just like you said, if Antonio Gates misses time, Phillip Rivers loves throwing to tight end, and Hunter Henry definitely made the most of it. He didn't make any mistakes too, which is the best part, and that's the most common thing for a rookie tight end is they make a lot of mistakes. They don't get targeted as much. But man, he looks very complete this weekend. I think that he's a great ad.
Yeah, I mean, even when Antonio Gates was healthy, he really wasn't doing a whole lot. I think that Hunter Henry's time could come sooner rather than later.
Oh yeah, I'm usually not high on rookie tight ends, but Hunter Henry, man, he looks like the complete package. I think that he'll have some rough patches here and there, but if Antonio Gates misses significant time, I think that he's a priority ad for sure at the tight end position.
I'm sure if you're in a dynasty league and you drafted him, you're very happy right now.
Oh yeah, and that's the best part too. You need a young tight end in the dynasty league, so yeah, absolutely, he's a great ad.
All right. Do you have any other tight ends you want to talk about? I don't.
I'm okay.
Okay. Now, there's a couple of defenses that may or may not be on the waiver wire because we know Philadelphia had a bye week. Some people might have dropped their defense. They're owned in 52% of Yahoo leagues. But they're available because of their Week 5 bye. I would scoop them up. Same thing goes for Green Bay's defense.
Yeah, it looks like they're getting all their guys back for their next matchup, so that's a good sign.
Green Bay Packers do play the Giants next week, so it may or may not be a good play.
Yeah, it could. I think that Odell Beckham is going to definitely be hungry for that one. So I don't know if I'm necessarily going to stream that one. I feel like that's a trap game for Green Bay. I think that with the loss tonight, I think that New York's going to be very hungry for a prove-it game, and I think that they might be the recipients of a shootout.
One of my favorite streamers is it's more of a risky stream. But I think you could stream Buffalo's defense this week against the Los Angeles Rams. And they're coming off a shutout, and they look pretty good.
Yeah, they actually look pretty good, and I'm not really sold on this LA Rams offense. I think that they look good passing the game, but it's kind of weird. I can't really explain it fully, but Arizona's defense isn't so much about like man-to-man coverage and this and that, and they are a good defense. Don't get me wrong, but LA is like pick and pang pingo game of fucking like, oh, hit an intermediate route here, hit an intermediate route here. It didn't play to the advantage of what Arizona tries to do on defense. Like, so they were able to get shorter intermediate passes and pick away and win a tight game. I'm not sold on them. I think that Buffalo's defense is definitely a good streamer.
Well, if you think historically, LA has actually played Arizona pretty tough. So honestly, that didn't really surprise me that they were able to hang with them and actually beat them. That was not surprising to me at all. Their defense actually looks like it's legit enough to actually contend in that division.
Yeah, this kind of goes without saying too. A lot of people dropped Houston's defense after the news about J.J. Watt. And I think that's a mistake, honestly. I think that this is still a pretty complete Houston defense, and if somebody drops them in your league, fucking add them.
All right. One other defense that I think you could also stream this week is Pittsburgh is owned in 56% of the leagues, and if they're playing the Jets, and Fitzpatrick has been throwing a lot of interceptions, and that's an opportunistic defense. So I think that might be a chance to get a nice little gem off the waiver wire.
Yeah, that could definitely work.
All right, I think that's about all we got.
Hey, let's talk about kickers. Nah, fuck kickers. Who cares about kickers?
I wish we'd just do away with kickers.
Yeah, we all know how you feel about kickers, but keep your animosity inside.
All right, so that'll do it for today's show. Thank you for watching the Fifth Down Fantasy Football Podcast. Please check us out. We are on Stitcher and iTunes, Breaker, you name it. Rate and review us on iTunes. That would be appreciated. We will be on again on Wednesday. We're going to be doing our ranking show. Please tune in for that. It should probably be ready for you in the morning Thursday, so that'll do it.
All right. Take it easy, Fifth Downers. We love you.
Peace out.